Auto Modellista.
In 2002, Auto Modellista was released in Japan and Europe for the PlayStation 2. It caught many driving game fans by surprise, thanks to its cel-shaded aesthetic and licensed JDM car lineup. This was followed by an updated US-tuned version for North America a year later, which in turn also enjoyed a re-release for the Japanese market, now including a selection of American vehicles. Seen by many as a stylized version of the massively successful Gran Turismo series, Auto Modellista had a bold art style that was a cartoonish counterpoint to Polyphony Digital's attempt at realism. Since 1998, Sony's premier driving series has inspired a generation of European gamers by exposing them to Japanese sports cars which were largely unknown in the West. In many ways, Gran Turismo was responsible for the burgeoning grey import scene, as gamers scrambled to buy their favourite in-game vehicles for real. Likewise, Japan's infamous underground street racing movement, best exemplified by the Midnight Club, also caught gamers' attention thanks to its heavy emphasis on vehicle tuning and outlandish body kits, defining features of the GT franchise. 2001 also saw the Fast and the Furious movie released into cinemas, further glamorizing Japanese car culture. With this in mind, Auto Modellista's developer Capcom looked to capitalize by focusing its efforts on the game's roster of cars and licensed tuning parts. Brands represented include OZ Racing, Veilside, STI, C West, G Ready, HKS, Bilstein, Yokohama, and many more. Capcom is responsible for some of the biggest gaming franchises in the world, Mega Man, Street Fighter, and Resident Evil to name a few. Thanks to its impeccable track record, one can see why hopes were high for the studio's first attempt at a Gran Turismo rivaling driving game. But did Auto Modellista hit the same heights? The jewel in the crown of Auto Modellista is its impressive car list. Really, it's amazing, especially if you're a fan of Japanese sports cars from the 90s. Supras, Skylines, Silvias, Skylines, Imprezas, RX-7s, Skylines, Truenos, Lancers, Skylines, Celicas, Integras and Skylines are all there, making the game a JDM fan's dream. It even had K-cars. North America is also well represented in the US tuned version, with Dodge, Ford and Chevrolet cars appearing as well. What about European manufacturers? Well, there's none. Yes, Auto Modellista has no BMWs, Porsches or Ferraris in its car lineup, which is massively disappointing. The cars that are in the game look great, however. Although their subtle curves are converted into bold black lines thanks to the cel shading art style, it works surprisingly well. I dislike the manga-style speed lines though, but these can be switched off. Think along the lines of Need for Speed Unbound's divisive effects, but much less intrusive. Replays look fantastic too, and there's an editor to boot. Realistically, however, this isn't where the majority of players will spend their time.
Welcome to the Garage Life mode. Enjoy!
Garage Life is the game's main career mode. Here you can buy cars, purchase performance-enhancing parts, and even fit outlandish body kits. As mentioned, they're officially licensed too, which was a unique selling point at the time. This part of Auto Modellista taps into the Japanese love of vehicle modifying, originating from the post-World War II subculture of the Bozooku. It eventually evolved into a more mainstream way for Japanese youth to rebel against authority, and today there are several car modifying scenes in Japan. These include the likes of Keido racers, Shakotans, and Kyushas, all with their own distinctive rule sets. Auto Modellista taps into this motoring subculture with aplomb, and thanks to the game's beautifully stylized graphics, modifying your car in-game has a satisfyingly vivid result. However, from the game's outset, you can jump straight into the most powerful cars, and even increase their horsepower and grip, yet there is no in-game currency. Better parts and other items can be unlocked through career mode progression, but Auto Modellista lacks the early game grind of most of its rivals. You can even win items to place in your garage, which you charmingly get to name alongside your cars. On a lighter note, customizing your car in-game is known as dress up. Admittedly, a few localization and translation errors do crop up. Auto Modellista was part of Capcom's three-pronged assault on the burgeoning online gaming scene, arriving just before Resident Evil Outbreak in 2003 and Monster Hunter in 2004. The game supported up to 8 players online, although the servers were switched off many years ago. By default, players were restricted to using unmodified cars or those saved to their sub-garage beforehand, a fact that's barely explained by the game. There's a bigger caveat to Auto Modellista's online mode though, as early European and American versions simply didn't have it. GameCube and Xbox ports followed in 2003 and 2004 respectively, yet only Microsoft's console retained online functionality. This isn't great, but let's not forget that playing your console games online was pretty rare in 2002 anyway. Offline, there's a 2-player split-screen mode to sink your teeth into, but your friends won't thank you for that. So, we've established that Auto Modellista looks fantastic, has an interesting range of cars, intuitive car modifying, and an impressive online mode for a 2-decade-old game. Surely, it's one of the finest racing games of its generation. No, it isn't. Auto Modellista, sadly, falls short on its content. There are only 6 tracks, 2 more bland ovals were added to the US tuned version, and blasting your way through the same venues in career mode gets tiresome all too quickly. Variety is lacking too, thanks to dull circuit design. In fact, there's only one proper racetrack, a strangely off-looking Suzuka. The AI is far too easy to defeat as well. Grab yourself a tuned Skyline and watch your opponents disappear in your rearview mirror. Just like Gran Turismo, eh? But by far the worst aspect of Auto Modellista is how the cars handle. There's barely any nuance. Vehicles feel like they're stuck to the asphalt with glue. You can also brake ridiculously late for the turns, but the middle pedal isn't a huge necessity since it's possible to wall ride past the AI most of the time. The drifting mechanic is pretty much non-existent too, which seems odd in a game containing a legendary drift location such as Akagi Mountain, famous for its appearance in the popular manga series Initial D. Handling was adjusted for the US tuned editions of the game, but didn't go anywhere near far enough to resolve these issues. Perhaps the worst aspect of Auto Modellista, or best depending on your point of view, is its voice talent, Hiroaki Asai. As well as being a DJ and a comedian, Asai also provided voice work for the 2001
Capcom vs SNK 2
Mark of the Millennium. Initially, his over-the-top, mid-race commentary is quite charming. However, after he utters the same over-enthusiastic phrase for the umpteenth time, it becomes grating. His Americanized delivery is quite simply cheese.
Keep rocking, baby!
On the other hand, the game's soundtrack is high quality, featuring tracks by renowned video game composer Tetsuya Shibata. His other credits include the Monster Hunter, Devil May Cry, and Resident Evil franchises. Alas, the music can be turned off, but the cheddar cannot. Exhaust notes are a mixed bag too, with a lot of cars sounding quite flat. However, most are convincing and arguably better than the preceding 3 Gran Turismo games. Annoyingly, hitting the rev limiter is greeted by an incessant beeping sound. Ugh. Auto Modellista still looks great. Its cel-shaded graphics have aged far better than any 3-dimensional racing game from the late 90s and early noughties. The action zips along at a consistent frame rate, and its car list covers the biggest hitters from the Japanese tuning scene, replete with all the hop-up parts and wings, skirts and splitters, real-world tuners fitted to their machines. However, Auto Modellista is far too easy, and its driving physics are subpar compared to its direct rival, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec. Despite its phenomenally slick presentation and petrolhead-pleasing tuning features, Auto Modellista is a disappointing case of what might have been. So, if you have any memories of Auto Modellista, I'd love to hear them in the comments below, and if you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the Traxion channel for more retro racing game content in the future. That's it from me today, so until next time, thank you so much for watching, keep it pinned, and have a great day.